Amazon Prime Video's movie The Voyeurs is one of many steamy domestic thrillers that have gone viral, thanks in part to the Voyeurs ending. The Voyeurs is an erotic thriller that adds explicit sex scenes to a setup largely cribbed from Hitchcock's psychological thriller. Sydney Sweeney stars as Pippa, who moves into a beautiful loft apartment with her partner Thomas, Jurassic World, Lost Kingdom. Pippa and Thomas can see everything that the glamorous couple across the street, Seb, Ben Hardy, and Julia, Natasha Lou Bordizzo, do via a pair of binoculars. Seb and Julia are a photographer and model in what could charitably be called a very tumultuous relationship. Unbeknownst to Julia, Seb is cheating on her with numerous models whom he seduces during nude photo shoots in their apartment while she is out. Thomas and Pippa discover this and argue over whether to inform Julia, with Thomas saying this is none of their business and Pippa insisting they investigate further. This disagreement sets in motion a complex chain of events that eventually leaves Thomas dead, Julia and Seb poisoned and blinded, and Pippa on the run. Who killed Thomas in Voyeurs? Julia and Seb killed Thomas after it's revealed that they own the apartment. Julia and Seb killed Thomas in Voyeurs, adding poison to a drink before leaving it in Pippa and Thomas's apartment. Unbeknownst to Pippa and Thomas, Julia and Seb actually own the apartment, and they secretly added a line to the couple's lease stating that they consented to be monitored by a video feed at all times. The entire time that Pippa and Thomas thought they were the titular voyeurs, looking in on the salacious lives of their neighbors, they were being watched all along by the real voyeurs, Julia and Seb. Of course, this doesn't explain why Julia and Seb killed Thomas, a question that requires a more in-depth explanation of the Voyeurs ending. The twist is similar to numerous other streaming thrillers, such as Netflix's Behind Her Eyes. Why did Seb and Julia kill Thomas? They needed an element of tragedy for their multimedia art project. Julia on the street with a red coat in The Voyeurs. Seb and Julia spied on Pippa and Thomas spying on them, collected footage of the couple, compiled it into an ambitious multimedia art project, and then murdered Thomas via poisoning, shortly before unveiling their work to the public. Why the duo needed to kill Thomas is barely explained save for a line about needing an element of tragedy to make the project compelling. This conclusion attempts to satirize the art world's apathy, or point out how callous people can be in the wake of another's misfortune, but makes the murder seem tacked on. Without killing off Thomas, Julia and Seb would essentially be replicating the plot of 2002's The Shape of Things, a dark drama that plays out a very similar plot, albeit between two members of one couple rather than two separate couples. Adding in Thomas's murder makes the antagonist Seb and Julia a little more American Psycho-esque by the ending, but it is still a somewhat unconvincing twist that mainly exists to facilitate Pippa's grisly revenge. Does Pippa get revenge on Julia and Seb? She visits their art exhibition to get avenge Thomas. Sydney Sweeney looking to the right out of her window in The Voyeurs. Heartbroken by the loss of Thomas, Pippa does not take the death of her partner in The Voyeurs lightly. She attends the opening of Julia and Seb's exhibition, and, interestingly, doesn't alert anyone present to the death of Thomas, before returning to her apartment and discovering dead birds near her bird feeder. Even though Pippa found Thomas's body hanging from the rafters in a staged suicide, she nonetheless correctly deduces from the presence of these dead birds that Seb and Julia poisoned the drink, killing Thomas, then staged the suicide to cover their tracks. Like promising young woman's Cassie, Pippa opts to get revenge on the couple and pulls off an ambitious gambit to get back at the pair. Does Pippa kill Seb and Julia? She doesn't kill them but blinds them with a laser eye surgery machine. Natasha Lou Bordizzo and Sydney Sweeney doing an eye test in The Voyeurs. Despite the duo being responsible for her partner's murder, Pippa does not actually kill Seb or Julia by the time the ending of The Voyeurs arrives. Instead, she uses her skills at her day job as an optician to access a laser eye surgery machine.